Hello, everyone, bloggers, listeners, active members of A Million Stars to Self Empowerment. I love you all, and I want to welcome you again to A Million Stars to Self Empowerment, which is a worldwide inspirational, motivational book sold on Amazon. Um, I am the author. I'm Abdul Fattah Muhammad, and today I'm going to talk about my biography. So it's actually inside the book, A Million Stars to Self Empowerment. However, I wanted to, just do things in a pattern consistent with the book, so that if you did have the chance to read the book, you would actually hear me elaborating on my own personal biography. I do refer to myself in the third person as the author, and so far nobody's complained, and I hope it stays that way. If it doesn't, then I have a million stars within me, and I hope that everyone who does have within them to be able to use it with peace and harmony. As mentioned in the past, the best aspect of empowering oneself is doing so through peace, passion, and harmony. Um, I'm going to again elaborate on A Million Stars to Self Empowerment, the book series, Volume 1, the author's biography. Abdul Fattah Muhammad, born in Newark, New Jersey in 1975. After traveling to West Africa, the Senegambian region, in 1983, where he lived in Senegal for 7 years before moving to the Gambia in 1989. In 1995, Mr. Muhammad returned to the United States, where he currently works and lives. Mr. Muhammad has worked many odd jobs in private, corporate, and local institutions, while continuing his education in community development projects. Over the past 25 years, he raised a family of his own. Growing up in Africa, Mr. Muhammad lived amongst the destitute population of Senegal and the Gambia. He was exposed to the West African cultures and multinational societies of that region. While completing his studies in the art of Quranic methods of memorization, he learned to speak several languages. In such regards, the author spent much time and effort dedicating his talents and resources to community education and personal development in both West Africa and the United States. Despite the challenges faced by Muslim communities and religious professionals globally post 9/11, Mr. Muhammad found himself to be a servant leader and a student of higher secular and non-secular education in Virginia. His endeavors led him to the completion of his GED, the General Education Diploma program, in 1997, and a bachelor's degree of international business in 2005, and a master's degree of information technology management in 2016, and currently has a MBA in project management, which I achieved this year in 2018. In 2012, he founded a nonprofit organization known as HASNA, which stands for Hafiz Society of North America in Richmond, Virginia. Mr. Muhammad speaks 5 languages and has traveled across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. His passions include teaching, coaching, and lending a helping hand to the least fortunate. He has been given the title of a Hafiz, which he has forfeited along with all other religious titles. Muslim, that is, Muslim religious titles. Mr. Muhammad also is the co-author of the book Muslims Are Dead Wrong, and as a public speaker aims to defining the importance of everyone's title from within. The following quote is from myself, the author. I have been very mindful of world politics and affairs prior to the first Gulf War in 1991. It made me reflect on worldly affairs with a conscious passion until today. Never has the knowledge of the world been enough for any one party, and I truly believe that this book is due to those exact visions, reflections, and passion. Uh, I want to start with that quote because I think it's really important that we understand when we receive a wake-up call to do something. And I think that was my wake-up call. That was when I received the first Universal Star. The first Gulf War, I happened to be at the time in Senegal. I was in Senegal, and I just want to narrate what happened. Okay, how I actually got wind of it. I was 12, I believe. Let's see. The first Gulf War took place in 1991, and yours truly was born in 1975. So that's let's see, trying to put the pieces together. Yes, so that puts me at 12, um, 12, 13 years old. No, wait a minute. 75 to 85. Help me here. 75 to 85 is 10 years from 85. Yes, yes. Okay, so from 85 to 91. Puts me at 16. Thank you for that. Now, the thing about it is that, we always find ourselves being uh, in the middle, or let's say, we're at the right place at the right time instead of at the wrong place at the wrong time. I happen to be in the right place at the right time in this case, because had I not known what was taking place, then I probably would have, caught wind of it much later and not have been woken up, because that's what a wake-up call does. It actually wakes you up. That's why it's referred to as a wake-up call to my knowledge and understanding. I remember exactly where I was, ironically. I was at the University of Dakar, Sheikh Anta Diop, and I was not anywhere in particular, or I was not just anywhere by coincidence, I should say. I was in the courtyard of the mosque there. It happened to be a place where I took a lot of Quranic lessons, and I remember a number of senior university students. I mean, they're much older than I am. They're sitting around discussing and listening to, the news in French. And I didn't understand French very well. However, I could understand the local language, Wolof. So I approached and I started listening in, what to see what was transpiring. And this actually happened to be, the situation took place earlier, and this was at the early stages. This was prior to the invasion of Iraq, where they were, trying to negotiate, for Saddam to pull out of Kuwait. And, they explained what was going on, that, he had decided that he was going to go into Kuwait and that he would take the oil fields and so on. Um, and the fact that they were there discussing it with such passion and such attention to detail. And here we are, we're in Africa, okay? We're not in the Middle East. We're not, in Iraq. We're not in Kuwait. We're not, in America. But they are really, really, really going back and forth about why he did what he did and what the outcome would actually be. And, I realized something at that point. I realized a number of things. And one of them were that the knowledge of this world is so vast and is so broad and so deep, realizing that no one party, it doesn't matter, what country has decided that they are going to be in charge of knowledge and information. There's only certain aspects of that knowledge and information they can actually be in charge of, but they cannot be in charge of everything, because they don't have the entire world abilities from that particular aspect, or they cannot contain. Like, no one really did care particularly. Not the Saudis, not the Kuwaitis, not the Allied forces, European or otherwise, us United States. No one really cared about what the parties sitting in the courtyard of the mosque were going on about, nobody really cared. They cared about it, but nobody else really did care about what it is that they were discussing. I cared about it because I wanted to know what was going on. And from that point on, I felt, it was vital, because this was a confrontation that was going to, go down somewhere along the lines into history about, how this started and how this ended. And I said to myself, I never witnessed a world confrontation or world war. I wasn't born in World War One or World War Two. I don't have any recollection of that. But this I will remember for the rest of my life. And they didn't actually start the confrontation until I moved from Senegal to the Gambia, and that took place in 1991. So I was on my way, moving to the Gambia with my family, at the time, my mother and brothers, and then it happened, that they invaded, and my mother, her soul rest in peace, and may she be happy where she is everlastingly. She used to always have, and I remember, listening to the BBC every morning. We would hear her in her room following the news and the events, and we would go in there and be with her, and she would explain different things that were going on, and uh, uh, I learned back then who Margaret Thatcher was, and what George Bush, President Bush Senior, was going to do, and King Fahad was in charge. You had was it Hosni Mubarak was in Egypt, and at the time Abdou Diouf was still the president of Senegal. Jawara was the president of Gambia. So I started to pick up who the key players were, and the United Nations, what their take would be on it, and from that point on, it just happened to never leave me to follow worldly affairs. And at some point, I actually, well, we made it a point to go and watch the news at the American Embassy back then, because that was actually free. They didn't charge for that or anything, and we would just, we would sit and we would watch the events as they unfolded. And the war was over really before it started. It didn't last very long. And I said to myself, wow, I mean, all the things that, this uh, ruler was saying, like, this is going to be the mother of all wars and all of this. And somebody actually told me, I'm not going to mention, who, that, when they was started to drop the bombs, we would hear it all the way. We never heard anything. We never heard anything in Africa. But anyway, um, this was real power. This was information which I felt, would empower a person. I mean, if it empowered a person to take on a country, and they felt they were empowered, and it empowered, another number of countries to invade that country, and it empowered them to become the saviors. Everything seemed to have been gearing and directing towards the importance of one taking on responsibilities to empower oneself. That's what it all boiled down to me at the time. And as I look back at it right now, that's exactly how things are even today. When we try to, take on certain things or do certain things that are, going to make us look good, we thinking that we are going to be empowering ourselves. Well, in that case, I'm not very, I don't want to be too critical, because of, I really, really don't know exactly, every detail of the situation. But a lot of people actually lost their lives in that war. A lot of people were, displaced or misplaced, however you want to word that. And I feel that, in terms of preserving the human life and human societies, we should always find a better way than to uh, apply or to bring on aggression upon another. And I remember President Bush Sr. saying, "This aggression against Kuwait will not stand. This aggression will not stand." So I will leave that at that. But uh, from him on, we can say that they have always, I remember every event or every engagement that has been with the United States or the Allied forces anywhere in the world. Um, from that point on, I just thought that it would be something, and it is right now because I'm finding the importance of putting that in A Million Stars to Self-Empowerment. Again, the book is online. It's on Amazon. Um, it is also sold worldwide. Another very important aspect was uh, the fact that, I'm not going to speak much on the forfeited of the religious titles. I don't want to speak much on that, and reason being, too much controversy about, particularly the hafiz. What a hafiz is, and what his duties and responsibilities really are. There's just a lot of controversy on that. I myself have forfeited that title. If somebody knows me by it, I will use that, and I'll say, Hafiz Abdul Fattah. But it is really not something that I like to, that I even, not that the fact that I like to, that I say, I am Hafiz. I don't say that, and I hope that people who are listening to this podcast will stop calling me by, if they used to it, that's one thing. If it's easier for them, that's another thing also. But not to make it a habit. As far as the other ones, again, I will not dig too much deep into those as to why I'm forfeiting all of those. However, the book that is associated with Muslims Are Dead Wrong, which is a book to be published once we get through all of the approvals, so to speak, then I'll leave that to elaborate on it. Those series. 9/11. 9/11 was most certainly by far an event which a lot of Muslims, uh, felt the backlash on. I remember working for one of the corporations at the time, and also being in junior college, and how I found out about that 9/11 event was very scarce, to say the least. I mean, I don't think I found out about an event any other time in my life besides death of close loved ones. It's only unfortunate, that uh, I was actually at the cafeteria, and I just walked out of the cafeteria into crossing over the admissions office, and one of the receptionists who knew me by my last name and had helped me register for certain classes, uh, said to me, like, Muhammad, you did it. I said, what did I do? What did I do? She said, you didn't hear what happened? I said, no, I didn't hear what happened. What happened? He says, you know what happened. I said, no, I don't know what happened. She said, go watch the news. So I went back into the cafeteria, and I saw the planes going through the buildings, and that thing. And then I came back to her and I said to her, you go on with that. I have nothing to do with this. I have no idea what any of this is about. And she brushed it off and everything like that. But there are other experiences which um, took place after that time, as far as backlashes of 9/11. And Why do I mention that? I mention that because of the fact that, uh, you know, many of strengths or many of opportunities in developing oneself as a Muslim, as a leader, as a religious figure, happen to be in handy or happen to come in handy at the time. Now that's why I bring it up. But the book itself will not elaborate too much on at this time, as this is the first volume. The future volumes very well may. However, this volume does not. This volume does not in all the series and I'm sorry, all the scenarios and the examples mentioned in this book. It will not dig very deep or not make much reference to the backlashes of 9/11 upon Muslims here. As far as the international business degree, again, that is from uh, uh, traveling abroad and interacting with multinational societies, as well as following worldly events and looking forward to possibly working in that arena. Um, I will be very happy to relay the importance of obtaining a higher education. It's very critical. Our very nature of of leadership requires a an extended amount of education, and that's something which is a key component in our success, as Malcolm X said, rahimahullah, that the may the Lord have great mercy on him, that the passport to our future is education. Without education, you have no future, and it's not just going to school and getting educated. Obviously, it's really about having the desire, having the drive, having the inspiration, having the passion of seeking education and of seeking that in which will empower you to obtain a strong foundational education. And I'm going to even go deeper into that as going forward. Again, this is all part of the introduction of the book, or this is part of the author's biography, which is myself again. Yes, I was born in Newark, New Jersey. The year of my birth is 1975, and I did travel to Senegambian region, particularly Senegal, which I was there for 7 years, from 1983 to 1991 again, right before the invasion of the Allied forces into Iraq and Kuwait to liberate Kuwait. So as mentioned, I did return to the United States in 1995, so I was there for 12 years. Just wanted to elaborate that A Million Stars to Self-Empowerment, it is not an autobiography of myself. It is, however, um, a series. It will involve uh, much of my life, and elaborate the experiences and the thoughts and ideas as mentioned before. And I hope that everyone does find within this themselves the ability to empower or embetter and to assist in any way possible uh, those that are around them, mainly loved ones, and those whom are of of closeness to the heart. This is a universal message from one pure heart to another. I do encourage everyone to follow us and like us on Facebook at A Million Stars to Self Empowerment. Or check us out on the YouTube channel, same, A Million Stars Self Empowerment. Online, A Million Stars of Self Empowerment and also tune in for the future uh, uh, segments of this podcast. And I hope that you have enjoyed listening and that you have found the star components within yourself and are able to never look back and never to look down, only look up and forward and say, I have a million stars of self empowerment within me. Again, this is Abdul Fattah Muhammad signing off, the author of A Million Stars of Self Empowerment, a universal message from one pure heart to another. God bless, and you have yourself a wonderful and beautiful, prosperous day.